In this screencast, I will explain the poem I Hear America Singing by Walt Whitman. Make sure you have listened to the oral reading of the poem before watching this screencast. So first, let's take a look at some vocabulary words that will help you understand the poem better. Varied means incorporating a number of different types or elements, showing variation. Carols is a religious folk song or popular hymn. Blithe means happy or joyous. Intermission is a pause or break. Fellows is a man or boy. Robust means strong and healthy, vigorous. Melodious is pleasant sounding. Okay, so now that we've looked at some vocabulary, let's talk about Walt Whitman's writing style. These are some elements that describe the type of writing that can be found in Whitman's poems. First, we have free verse. Unlike formal verse, which has strict rules, free verse has irregular meter and line length and sounds like natural speech. Whitman was the first American poet to use free verse. So when you listen to the poem, I Hear America Singing, it just sounds like someone speaking. Long lines. Whitman uses long, sprawling lines for various effects. They may reflect the idea being expressed, capture a broad scene, develop a complex idea, or string together a list of objects. So when you look at the poem, I Hear America Singing, you notice that his lines continue. When you look at the number of the line, you'll notice that it's not on just one physical line, that it carries over to the next line because they are longer. Then we have catalogs or lists. Whitman's use of catalogs or lists of people, objects, or situations evokes the infinite range of elements that make up the human experience. So this is actually something similar to that we have modern day. If you're familiar with listicles, that's a type of writing in which there's a list, a numbered list of whatever they're talking about. Okay. Next, we have anaphora. Anaphora is the repetition of phrases or sentences with similar structures or meanings. Okay, we'll take a look at that in more detail in a few slides. Then we have diction or word choice. Whitman uses specific words for their clarity, precision, or sound quality. Okay, so when we take a look at some of these vocabulary words he uses, we have blithe, right? That's a very specific word choice. He could have just said happy or joyous, but he chose to use that word blithe to reflect the mood that he wanted to convey. Same with robust. He could have just said strong and healthy, but again, robust helped add to that diction of his writing, as well as melodious. Okay, so all of those words contribute to his diction or word choice. Then we have onomatopoeia. Onomatopoeia are words whose sounds imitate their meanings. Whitman uses these words to suggest that his ideas transcend language itself. Okay. In this particular poem, I Hear America Singing, he doesn't necessarily use that. In some of his other poems, he does. But that would be when the word sounds like what it is. For example, when you say meow to describe what a cat sounds like, right? The actual word itself is how the cat sounds when he says that. Okay, so let's take a minute for you to make a prediction based on the title. Okay, the title is I Hear America Singing. So I want you to consider that meaning for a minute. And think about, what singing do you think will be described? I hear America singing. Okay, so keep your prediction in mind and we'll come back to it at the end. Whitman is fond of listing or cataloging people, things, creatures, and experiences. Who are the 12 people that he mentions in this poem? Okay, so let's take a look at those. We have mechanics, carpenter, a mason, which is a builder and worker in stone. A boatman is a person who rents out or works on boats. A deckhand, a member of a ship's crew. A shoemaker, hatter, woodcutter. Plowboy is a boy who leads the animals that draw a plow. Here's a picture of that. Mother, young wife, and girl. Okay, so let's take a look at this list of 12. And let's think about, what general observation can you make about the occupations of these people? Okay, so take a look at these occupations. If we were to make a list of some of the top occupations of our current day in 2021, that list would be very different, right? So you have to consider the time period. This is in the 1800s. Okay, so all of these workers here are involved in physical occupations that take place either outdoors or in a home, not in an office. They are all rural and housekeeping occupations, okay, because these are occupations that are reflective of the types of jobs people had in the time period in which Whitman lived, which is the 1800s. If he was alive today and wrote the same type of poem, the list of people that would be included would be very different. Okay, so now let's think about his attitude toward the people in the poem. His attitude is very positive, right, and uplifting. He's admiring the hard work that these people are doing to help build our nation. He admires and respects them. Okay, let's take a look at anaphora in more detail. This is the repetition of phrases or sentences with similar structures or meaning. So let's look at an example of this in a very popular and common speech by Martin Luther King Jr., the I Have a Dream speech. Here are some lines from that speech. Notice how they all start in the same way. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up. I have a dream that one day out in the red hills of Georgia. I have a dream that one day even the state of Mississippi. I have a dream that my 4 little children. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day down in Alabama. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day every valley. Okay, so if you notice, what all of these lines have in common is that they all start in the same way, with the same phrase of I have a dream. Okay, so that sense of repetition definitely adds to their writing style. So Whitman uses anaphora in his poem in lines 3 to 6 because they all start with the same phrasing. He says, the carpenter singing, the mason singing, the boatman singing, the shoemaker singing. Okay, so they all start in the same way and add to this specific artistic effect of the poem. Okay. Now let's take a look at his writing style of using long, sprawling lines. Okay, so here's a copy of the poem. And notice that some of these lines, they continue, right? Because they're longer. So when we look at how we would number this, here we start off with 1, I hear America singing, the very carols I hear. Then line 2 continues. Those are mechanics, each one singing has his as it should be, blithe and strong. So we don't number this as 3. This is still part of 2 because it's one of those long sprawling lines. Okay, and then we have 3, same with 4. Since it's a little bit longer, it goes on to another physical line, but it still keeps the same number. Okay, so let's look at line 10 here. The day, what belongs to the day, at night the party of young fellows, robust, friendly. So what do the day and night sing? The day sings what belongs to the day, and the night sings the songs of men having fun. That actually also is an example of personification, because he's personifying the day, making it seem like it's a person. So what does he mean when he talks about the day and night singing? Okay, well, if you think about it, there are certain things that you do during the day. Usually that's a time for working. And then certain things you do at night, usually that's a time for relaxing or having fun after putting in a long days of work. Okay, and these people in the 1800s, they had a really long day of work because they had physical manual labor, usually from sunup to sundown. So it was really important for them to relax and have fun at night. So why do you think he includes this in his poem? To emphasize and show that these people are working really hard during the day. They're putting in long hours of manual physical labor, so they have fun at night. Okay, so let's talk about American epic poetry. Walt Whitman is one of the most famous American poets and writers because he is the inventor of a new brand of poetry named the American epic poetry. Unlike traditional epic poetry, which tells a long story about an ambitious and an untouchable hero, Whitman's brand celebrates the common person and acknowledges that all people of all times are connected by their shared experience of life. Okay, so how does I Hear America Singing exemplify American epic poetry? Well, this is a tribute, this poem. So a tribute is an act, statement, or gift that is intended to show gratitude, respect, or admiration. So his poem is actually a tribute to all of these labor workers. Even though they all have a different job, they are all equally important to help build our nation and are all heroes in their own way. Keep in mind the time, the 1800s. This is a time when our nation was still developing, okay? And all of these people contributed to helping advance the nation. And so he wants to show respect or admiration towards them. Now, after reading the poem and hearing a little bit more about what it means, consider the meaning again. Okay, think about your prediction. Was your prediction in line with it, meaning the singing was the singing of all of these workers? Okay, and that's what I Hear America Singing is all about.